Hello, and welcome. You are about to enter the Large K Podcast.
What's up, everybody? My name is Kazu, and welcome to Large K Podcast. On this show, I interview bands and artists, and we talk about music, favorite shows, and how they got to where they're at. For today's show, I talked with Adrian Kim AKA Ceramiks. This is his solo electronic shoegaze project, and he released his debut album Emmaus on Father's Day this year. I met him when I went to go see Young Lovers at Lot 1 Cafe in Los Angeles, and he opened up for them. The lighting for his set was really dark, and he had this mask on that looked like Sub-Zero of Mortal Kombat. He played a really solid set, and my friends and I were really impressed. I talked to him, and we scheduled to do an interview at his place in San Fernando Valley. I got to his house and set up at the music room where he has all his instruments, and it's covered with music posters. Adrian opened up during the interview and talked about how this album is a tribute to his dad that passed away and how important he was to his life. I want to give a big shout out to Adrian's mom for not only opening up their home for me to do this interview, but also for being very supportive of Adrian's music, and she also contributed on his album as well. It's cool how a close family member can be a big part of your inspiration, and I definitely learned that from talking to Adrian. I really enjoyed this conversation I had with him, and I hope you will too. Alright, here's the interview I did with Ceramiks. Enjoy!
About the music I make, and like that's it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Like nothing like really deep.
Yeah, well, yeah. But first thing, I mean, thanks for doing this, just because like.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm honestly honored to be part of an exclusive list of interviewees. Like it's a very exclusive club. I like it.
I'm very picky.
Yeah. Hey, that's an honor. It's an honor. Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. When I went to see you at the Lot 1, I noticed that you're pretty versatile, like instrumentally, and just kind of wanted to get a little bit of background on your start. I wanted to know, what was your first instrument?
My first instrument was the piano.
Oh, you said your mom's a piano teacher, right?
Yeah, she is. She's been in that business for like 30 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Or like 20 to 30, around that range. And just the person she is, she made my sisters and I all take piano lessons.
I see.
My sisters, they hated it. Not saying that I really did like it, but
yeah.
I was the only one who really kept going.
Oh, okay.
I started when I was 5, and I sort of hopped around teachers a bit.
Yeah.
And then around 7, that's when my mom was like, hey, you know what? I think piano's not enough. We got to throw something else in there. So
Yeah.
my mom made me take violin lessons starting from
really?
7. And then 10 years old, my mom was like, you know what? That's not enough. And then she made me take drum lessons. And then
Really? So violin, 2 drums? And
yeah, violin to drums. And then for a hot second, she made me learn bass guitar. And then, yeah, so my mom's sort of been a music coach in that aspect.
Damn.
But yeah, I've sort of hopped around lessons-wise. But in terms of like lessons, like I only went till I was like 13.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And so does that mean you could like do sight reading and stuff because you started classically? So.
Oh God, sight reading is like my weakness.
Yeah.
There's this thing called CM, Certificate of Merit. It's sort of I would say it's sort of like the SAT or like STAR testing of whatever instrument you're focusing on. And I take it every year, and there's like theory, performance, technique, and whatever.
Right.
And there's a sight reading portion. Every single year, I pass everything except for sight reading because I'm relatively the more like, what's the word for it? Pretty much like I have like a much harder time reading. Yeah. I'm sort of the guy that has to like look very carefully at each note, making sure I'm doing everything right, and then I have to take care of dynamics, like tempo. I have to. It's a stressor. It is
a stressor, man. I mean, like everything's written on the paper, but then like following it is like the hardest part.
Oh God, yeah. It's sort of like that one episode of SpongeBob where he's, I think he's taking his driving lessons, and then like he looks at like all the controls, but they're all in Korean. Yeah, that's like me, but with like everything when I read the notes, it's chaotic. Yeah.
I remember that episode. It's when like Patrick was like helping him cheat or something like that on the test. Or, like,
something like that. That was just. I remember that was just one of the moments that like stuck out to me. Yeah. Because you don't really get things that involve Korean much, especially in like an American cartoon show. Yeah. So that memory just stuck with me for years. Yeah. So I refer to that scene a lot. But overall, I'm more of a listener. Like a year. Yeah. Like I'm sort of I used to get like an acoustic guitar, and then like I watch music videos on TV, and I just play along with it. Yeah. And then it's sort of translated to like somewhere near like perfect pitch. Oh wow. And that's sort of how like I caught on to like the rest of my instruments. Oh okay. Yeah.
I see. Damn, dude. Were you born in San Fernando area?
Yeah, born and raised. I've been trapped here all my life. Okay. Hey, no disrespect to San Fernando. Hey, like, no, don't listen to what other people say. San Fernando Valley is LA. Yeah. I will always support the San Fernando Valley no matter what. There's not much here. A bunch of houses, a bunch of food, and a bunch of boba. But yeah, the valley's great. Yeah, I've been here, but like not much goes on here, but okay, it's great.
Yeah, represent
represent the 8 for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's cool because like that means you were. It's cool how your mom like asked you like, hey, you should get into bass guitar and get into drums and all that. And does that mean like I don't know before like prior to starting your solo project, were you playing in any bands at all?
Not really. I was involved. My whole family was involved in my church in some way.
Okay, so church band?
And so I was in the worship team since I was a 7th grader to 12th grade of high school. So from 7th to like 9th or 10th grade, I was on keyboard duty. And then after that, our regular drummer graduated high school and he moved on to college ministry, so I had to hop on drums after that. Oh, okay. So that was my main involvement. Okay. And then there were just a few talent shows here and there where my friends were like, hey, do you want to cover Maps by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs? And I'm like, hey, I'm down. I'll play drums for that. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so yeah, it's kind of similar to because our band's drummer too. Like he started off with church band, you know, and I feel like a lot of people get their start within like those kind of community, stuff. So.
It definitely added some foundation to sort of how I structure music in a way. The bass or chord progressions, they're not that special. It's sort of like the same thing you hear from With or Without You by U2, like that same bass line, and the 1-5-6-4, like it's a lot like that, but it definitely helped me just like in terms of like instrumentality and what should go where.
Right.
So I have a lot to thank for that.
Yeah. And when did you get into programming or like making beats and stuff?
Yeah, so that goes a long way. So at some point in middle school, my mom was like, hey, you know what? I don't think you're the kind of person to get into classical music. So my mom wanted to sort of change the picture a bit. She got me more into jazz piano / keyboard. So around 9th grade, I started taking very expensive lessons from this guy named Enrique Pantoja.
Uh-huh.
He's like an OG. He toured with like Santana.
Oh, wow.
And a lot of the jazz greats like Abe Laboriel, Dave Weckl.
Yeah.
He played a bunch of like Vinny Colaiuta, a bunch of like jazz legends.
Yeah. And
he was like, hey, you know, you should get this program called Logic. And he was, I don't know if he currently is, but he was a professor at Biola University.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
And he gave me a student discount. So I downloaded it, and then he recommended a MIDI controller. So I started like practicing through that. And then around 7th grade, my cousin Tay, he was like a rapper around that time.
Okay.
And he got me into a lot of hip hop back then, and around a very like difficult time that my family was going through. Yeah. He got us all into Nujabes. And Nujabes is one of, if not the most important people that like pieced who I am musically. Yeah. Like, for crying out loud, I have this tattoo.
I was about to say, like, dude, Lovesick, man.
Yeah, Lovesick. Not many people get the reference, unfortunately, but this just sort of shows how he got me started musically. Yeah. He sort of just put the soil, and then I just sort of experimented with the seeds at that point. Okay. Around 9th grade, I was like, you know, I want to get into something like what he does, but I don't really know how. And I just had Logic, and then there were all these MIDI drum tracks that I could try out. Yeah. So I was a bit of a drummer, so with like the F sharp and the E for the snare and the kick, I just like pressed the buttons just to see what sounded good. Yeah. So I actually started off as an instrumental hip hop project. Okay. So I made beats. I didn't know how to sample for my life, so I made everything by myself. Makes sense. So I played those like jazz melodies on my keyboard through like a piano track. Yeah. I added my own bass melodies and everything. So I started off like that, and then I don't know if have you ever watched the show Heroes? Yeah. You know Peter, right? Yeah. Like his power is to like just suck off some like other people's powers when he's near them, sort of like a human 3DS in a way. But so sort of like that. I just sort of went through a bunch of music phases at that point, and I just started like taking bits and bits and bits, and that sort of shaped how I program my music.
I see. Yeah. Wow. No, I'm really happy to hear that, you know, Nujabes was such an important part of your life, you know. Yeah. I was just out of curiosity, I know Lovesick has part 1 to 6. Like, which one's your favorite?
I gotta say, oh man, you gotta throw that at me right now? I wasn't ready for that.
I have to.
I will have to say part 2.
Part 2 is tight. Yeah.
And I started off like appreciating hip hop more for the production than lyricism. Yeah. Like earlier. Like Nujabes, I mean, like lyricism is great, but I listen more for what Nujabes made, and in terms of like what he just put together in that is just such a beautiful sounding, it's such a beautiful sounding, just production. And what's even better than that is, have you ever heard the acoustic version of that?
Of Lovesick Part 2?
Yeah.
No, I never know there was a
So after Nujabes passed away, Shingo 2, he put together this album, the Lovesick Hexology. And
check that out.
so there's two halves.
Yeah.
So the first half is just the 1 through 6.
Yeah.
And then the second half is different versions of each one.
Yeah.
So one is like a remix, another this and that. And then the second, for part 2, he did an acoustic version, which is it's so tragically beautiful.
Yeah.
Because he concluded at the very end, like right before he finishes rapping, he says like R.I.P.
Yeah.
And they made that song while Nujabes was still alive.
Right.
So it just shows a very different perspective for this song, where this one's not about necessarily a love story, but it's more about a friendship that he just wanted to reminisce on. And that was more of like a devotion to Nujabes. So that one, the acoustic version is just so beautiful. It starts out with like a guitar with like a bunch of picking, and then a bunch of brass, a bunch of like flutes, like backup vocals, and it just progresses into something like really beautiful. It's like a candlelight service. It was really great.
What?
Yeah.
I gotta check that out then.
Oh, definitely. Everyone listening, that Love Sick album, you gotta do it. Like mainly for the second half, but yeah.
Yeah, I love to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just want to get into your monikers, Ceramiks.
Yeah.
Where did you get that name from?
Oh man. Okay, so originally when I started this project, I wanted to be like this cool person that would never ever explain the meaning of the name.
Okay.
I will always tell people like, oh, it's just like a personal meaning, or it's something I only tell family and friends. But honestly, it's just I've just been in this for so long that I'm just gonna tell it. But okay, so in high school, like end of middle school, beginning of high school, I was a very awkward kid. Yeah. Like I had a really hard time having a conversation. So my friend Joe, he's currently the bassist for this band Run River North. Mm-hmm. But I grew up with him. Okay. And he saw who I was for a while, and he drew comparisons with me to Michael Cera, because Michael Cera is just an overall awkward guy. And he was like, man, why are you like Michael Cera, man? And I'm like, hey, I can't control it, man. Like I just have a hard time talking to people, whatever. Yeah. And then I started like that instrumental hip hop thing. I'm like, you know what? I should have a name, not like DJ, whatever. Yeah. Like I want a legit name. So what should I do? And another things I like to do is like I like to flip things backwards to see what they would say. Okay. So I would get like Adrian backwards is Nerda. That sounds a little more post-rock name-ish. It's weird. Yeah. And then Kim, like mix that. That's Mick. Right. And then I don't know why, but just Michael Cera popped in my head at that point.
I see it now.
You see it now, right? Cera Mix. Yeah. So I was like, Cera Mick. That sounds a lot like ceramics. I have no interest in pottery, but you know that I will go with it. Yeah. So there's no real meaning with it. Just it was sort of like a last second thing. Yeah. I wasn't really under pressure for anything, but I was like, you know what? I just want to go by something for now. Yeah. The ceramics, like it just stuck with me. I never really had any thought of changing it. Cool so name. Yeah, I'm just content. Yeah. Yeah.
Damn, I didn't know that. Nobody.
Honestly, like this is top secret stuff. I never thought I'd tell people, but you know, screw it. Yeah, it's very like left fields. I know. Yeah,
dude, that's how a name should be, man. Like it has to come out of some inspiration like that. You know what I mean? As random as it is, I mean, it is still a really cool name. So yeah.
It's sort of like I think it was Coldplay when they came up with their name. I think. I could totally be wrong, but I think they got their name just from like what somebody like said, and they just put like words together. Oh, okay. They're like, okay, and then like MBV, they got their name from like a horror movie. Yeah, it was a movie. So I mean, everyone has their ways, but I just was a very spontaneous sort of thing. Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, because like I don't know, even with having that name like Ceramiks, it like with your stage presence, like it kind of feels mysterious, especially the first time I saw it. You know, because I actually did listen to the music like beforehand going into the show. So, okay. Because I did have some interest in you, like just checking it out.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. So that's and so it was like a really cool opportunity to be able to like witness that. But also, I was wondering, why do you wear a mask?
Oh, okay, so
That's kind of like a Sub-Zero, like Mortal Kombat style, like, you know. Like,
oh, funny you say that. Sub-Zero was like my go-to guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but so this is where we get to sort of the significance of like the album. But if you're not really, just for listeners,
it's just my guess, but is it a tribute to your dad?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
So like everything in the album you hear is just 100% revolving around my dad and just the kind of person he was and what he went through to raise me and my sisters and stuff. But the mask, so he was going through some things last year, and I had to take him to the ER multiple times. And because his condition was severe to the point where he couldn't really be exposed to the air much, and just what other people carried, we all had to wear hospital masks. And then there was a time when I spent all day with my dad.
Yeah.
And that night, or just a couple days before that, Crown Dancer, another awesome band, shout out to those guys, they asked me if I wanted to play a show. And it happened to be that same day I was with my dad.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, sure. And then I had my set list ready. All my gear was in my car. And then around the nighttime, I switched shifts with my mom, who hopped in to stay with my dad. And then I drove to the venue, and I was setting up. And while I was setting up, I realized I still had my hospital mask on.
Oh, okay.
So I went up, and then, like, at this point, I think it's just fair to say, talk about what my family's going through.
Yeah.
And I think just to show just the hell that my dad was a part of, like, I think it's just fair to sort of keep that mask on.
Right.
So I played that whole set with that hospital mask on. And then eventually I realized, like, it's way too hot in that mask, and I'm breaking out in that area, so might as well look for a mask where I have some breathing space.
Yeah.
So I was, like, looking around, and then my really awesome friend Charlotte, she bought the mask, and then she mailed it to my house.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, damn, this is sick. Like, it really does give, like, a Sub-Zero vibe now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But, I think it's just a very, like, symbolic meaning just to have that mask on. And also just, like, a minor meaning. I'm sort of, like, self-conscious with how I appear when I play.
Okay, yeah.
Because people commented on my appearance more than my music before when I played.
Yeah.
And, like, I just sort of didn't like hearing that.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, I wear a hat, the mask, sometimes a hoodie. And sort of, like, I request for the sound guys to turn the lights off when I play.
Yeah.
And I have, like, stage lights that face away from me, so you more see my silhouette than, like, my actual self.
That's cool. Yeah.
So there's sort of, like, a double-sided thing, yeah.
I see. Just kind of wondering, what was your dad struggling with?
He passed away from complications with cancer.
Oh, okay.
It was a very sudden diagnosis, but it's been like a couple months struggle. And eventually, like, he succumbed, and it was a tough time.
Oh, yeah.
But so, like, around that time, I think it just I sort of, the main thing I did was just think about my life with my dad while he was healthy. I mean, it's sort of very quick because it was just like a month, like a couple months compared to like more than 20 years of, like, him being healthy. Yeah. But I just quickly thought about that stuff because I was thinking, like, these were very important moments that helped me develop into the man I am. Yeah. And with, like, the time that I had left with my dad, I wanted to just go back to these things and, like, reminisce on them. So, like, sort of going back to these memories is sort of what like those individual songs in my album was about. I see. So yeah.
Was your dad a musician too?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A lot of the things in this music room belong to him.
Oh, really?
The saxophone there, that's his. These two acoustic guitars, his. And then everything woodwind that you see belonged to my dad.
Oh, wow.
So I have you see a very musical family.
He loved music, huh?
Yeah, he's one of, like, the most talented people like ever.
Oh,
it's crazy. Like he could just pick something up and it only takes him like a week and he just masters it.
Right.
He conducted choir regularly.
Wow.
And he like taught guitar. Like he did a bunch of things and he wrote a bunch of songs.
Okay.
So the song Emmaus, towards the end, there's like the first half is when I play guitar, just by itself. Yeah. That part was written by him.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So that part was all written by my dad, and and it was like it was meant to be a performance with him, my mom, and this man, Mr. Cho, who was like a longtime friend of my dad.
Yeah.
And so he's just a regular songwriter. So yeah, and he was like an avid music listener too, as you can see. Like he had a bunch of records.
Yeah.
He was like a Bee Gees guy, Smokey Robinson guy. He loved the Moody Blues, like Joan Baez, Bob Dylan, like Nana Muscuri. Like I could list everyone he loved. But
I see. So the album title Emmaus is a reference to a song that he wrote, like basically.
Yeah, that's not the title of the song, the actual song that he wrote. Yeah. Emmaus is the name of this like Bible store / gift shop that my dad owned.
Okay.
Like before I was born to like a bulk of my childhood.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of my happiest memories came from that store because there was a point where I didn't start school yet, so I went every day to that place with my dad.
Yeah.
So like if you break it down, the store is located on Rosewood and Western, hence like Western's the title of one of those tracks.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. I see.
And then for business purposes, Emmaus changed its name to Agape, and Agape is the title of the first track in the album. So a lot of it is like surrounded by that. Emmaus compared to Agape, it's more like melancholy sounding.
Yeah.
And that was mainly because that song is sort of that was mainly about the last week I had with my dad, because I reminisced about everything that Agape was about with him.
Yeah. So
you could sort of hear a melody in Emmaus towards the second half, and that's the main melody in Agape.
I see.
Sort of as like a reminder. So there's a lot of connections.
Yeah. Did you create like this entire album like after he passed, or like were some of these tracks like was it still in process while he was like around too? Or?
Agape is my oldest song.
Okay.
That song's about, I want to say it's about 3 to 4 years old.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, because I made a bunch of failed EPs.
Oh, okay.
While I was in college.
Yeah.
And Agape, that song just stuck around because like I just really loved that song.
That's a cool song, dude.
Yeah. Whenever I think about that song, I just think about the drives to and back.
Yeah.
And mainly for the drives back, because I was such a short kid at that time.
Yeah. That
all I could see were the street lights and all the lights from the storefronts that were passing by.
Yeah. And
like it felt like I was just like in a spaceship. And my dad's always good at making me feel at home. So those like little like that Lil Rhodes melody in that song, I sort of correlated that to like those lights that I saw.
Yeah. And
just a bunch of like the majestic wonders that were just regular common things in Koreatown, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my oldest song. Reset I made earlier in 2016.
Yeah.
And then Western and Emmaus I made this year.
Oh, okay.
And then the interlude tracks, I've had those for like a year or two. So the interlude tracks are pretty old too.
Yeah, Reset's a cool track too. Like as I was listening to it, I just want to say like the entire album kind of has this like really nostalgic feel to it, and and it's cool because of maybe it's just that shoegazy but electronic sound that sort of reminisce a bit of like early M83 a bit, and then to like...
Man, you're hitting the dots on everything right now.
And even like getting into like track like Western has this like... you're familiar with Aphex Twin, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, he has a song called Flynn where like... I feel like there are like these xylophone melodies that, you know, that kind of like puts me back to that mode too. So it's like, just overall, like, I don't know, it was just a really nice vibing instrumental album. And I really dig that, you know?
Yeah, I gotta break down every single thing you just said, because the nostalgic feeling, that's sort of what I go for.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's things to be happy about in this current day and age, but like, it's so crazy. Like, life was so simple. Life was not just simple, but it felt like I was just part of like a fantasy movie. Because my sisters can really like agree, but my dad really was a part of all of our great memories. Even if he wasn't directly involved. Like, my dad was the best cook, like, in the entire damn world. Like, I don't care what everyone else says. Like, Guy Fieri himself can come, and like, I don't give a damn, man. But my dad was like, his food. He took us fishing. Like, I went golfing with my dad, and these are all just like simple, you know.
Yeah.
But like, sometimes, like, one of my favorite memories was, ironically, the police station. They had this like carnival, and I went there with my dad, and most of the time I think I was like on his shoulders.
Okay.
And he took me to everything. He took me to like a house of mirrors. He took me to like this like ride that like went around and round and round.
Yeah.
And like, I still try to remind myself that was like a real thing. Like, it felt like a dream, but it was like real.
Yeah.
And I just like to go back to all these like things, and I'm just a very nostalgic person, because you know, like, I know we all got to move on as adults, but I think it's just really, it's not just healthy, but I feel like it's very important to just remind yourself where you came from, and like really the great things that came from that. So segueing from that to the M83 reference, M83, I feel like M83 he sort of took the reins after Nujabes.
Yeah.
As I went through some weird ass phases in high school. Like, there was a point where I listened to like Metallica, Sublime, and like Bruno Mars at the same time. I was a mess.
Yeah.
But I stumbled upon this blog. I wish I could remember the name of the blog, but that blog saved my life, because one page alone, I discovered Beach House, Plastic Beach by Gorillaz.
Yeah.
And Before the Dawn Heals Us, and Saturdays Equals Youth by M83.
Yeah.
And those two albums pretty much shaped me. Saturdays Equals Youth. Western, actually, it's somewhat of a... I feel like Western is more of an homage to a particular song in Saturdays Equals Youth, Colors.
Oh, yeah.
Because the repetitive nature of it.
Yeah.
Because Colors, it just keeps repeating, but things just keep building on it.
Right, yeah.
And that repetitive nature is sort of a tribute to every single day in that store with my dad.
Yeah.
Because, like, it's the same thing, the same store every day, but I feel like I discover something new. I'm just, like, this tiny kid with ADD, and I'm just so distracted by everything. Like, I put all these tape cassettes in alphabetical order. I pretend to buy Pokemon cards with my dad's tip jar. Like, there's something new every day, and it's so great.
Yeah.
So M83 definitely attributed a lot to me, and like my pedal board setup, half of it is what M83 uses.
Oh, okay.
So that little wall of sound that he makes, mainly in Before the Dawn Heals Us.
Yeah.
That's sort of what I wanted to like relate to in a way.
Yeah.
So yeah, I owe like majority of my music to M83. Like, he's my hero pretty much. And then Flim, during my live sets, I like to cover one song in each set. So at that Lot 1, I did that Broken Social Scene cover. Another one I like to alternate with is Flim.
Really?
Yeah, I covered Flim. It was a mess, because like all those beats that Aphex Twin, which is like impossible to decipher entirely.
That beat's crazy for like a simple melody. Right?
Yeah. I actually, with earplugs on, I recreated that as best as I could while I was in the hospital with my dad.
Oh wow.
So it was hell, but I somehow did decipher like 70% of it.
Okay.
And I flipped between that and like Run Into Flowers by M83, which is like another fantastic track. But
okay.
yeah, everything you just said like really was the bullseye. Like,
oh,
yeah.
I'm glad it worked out. Then.
You got the ear, man. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it's cool that you try to decipher the drum beat to phlegm, because I mean that's like.
Yeah. Oh my lord, yeah. It's a mess.
I don't know how that guy's brain works. It's just like he just knows how to hit it. But no, that's really interesting though. And I wanted to ask about that track Emmaus. I always like Emmaus. Yeah. So you recorded that on your phone? You said.
I recorded Selah on my phone.
Oh, you do? So you recorded Selah? Oh, the last track on the piano, right?
Yeah. Okay, so in this entire album minus Selah, I recorded at Mike Trejo's house.
Okay.
And Mike Trejo, he runs a label called Bedweather.
Okay.
And Young Lovers, they released their debut album through that.
Fantastic.
A fantastic record.
Yeah.
And then he was also in a band called Dustin and the Explosions.
Okay.
He's an amazing guy.
Uh-huh.
Like, he was 50% of the album. He denies it, but he really was the foundation of the album.
That's
like,
awesome.
I couldn't have done it without him.
Yeah.
But I recorded it at his house.
Yeah.
I didn't have that very metal setup at that time, so I took like a Valvetronics.
Okay.
To his house. Sometimes when it was too heavy to carry, he let me borrow his Fender Twin Reverb, and he only used 2 mics, one directly to the amp and one above it, and then he had that little curve thing that covered, and then so that was in the living room, and then I recorded from the bedroom, and the door separated it. And there was a mic in the room that I used for my violin. And so the violin, the dry feed, I recorded through that mic, and then the effects that were going through my violin through the amp. So that was the stereo in its way. But Selah, I recorded that entirely with my phone. So the reason why I did that is because back in my old days, my dad used to record like a bunch of home videos. And those home videos were referenced along the album, like in those brief audio samples.
I heard that.
So that was sort of a tribute. I wanted it to feel like my dad was recording me and my mom perform that.
I see.
The trumpet or the brass, it was given by Jonathan Higa's dad.
Oh, okay.
That was mainly him. And I wanted it to sound very distant. Sort of like very like Destroyer. Like in his album Kaput, like like how the trumpet is just so effect ridden that it sounds far away. I wanted to give that feeling. So I told Mike, and I myself try to add like a bit of reverb to it, just to make it seem far, because it feels like my dad's presence is there somehow. But at the same time, I wanted it to have a very home video like feeling, just to feel like we're part of the past, present, and future with my dad.
I see.
Yeah, majority though was recorded at Mike Trejo's house.
I see.
And he did a fantastic job on that. I would never have been able to do that on my own.
Yeah, dude. Sounds like everybody's been like extremely supportive of this like project, even including like your mom, who's just like, it feels like she continuously like encourages you to like keep playing. So,
oh yeah, oh my gosh, my mom is. I would have to devote like a second interview just to talk about my mom, and how much she's done for me. It's ridiculous. My whole family, pretty much, they all had a part in it.
Right. Yeah.
My oldest sister, she provided like a few of the audio samples, and then eventually, when I do more sticker runs, she's doing the design for that.
Oh, okay.
My middle sister, she designed the shirts, as well as in the CD case behind the CD. There's like a bunch of objects that my dad used throughout his lifetime, and my sister drew all of that. And my mom, she was the budget. Like that, as well as like she just allows me to just pursue all these opportunities during this time.
Yeah, dude.
My mom, she keeps me in check. She knows what my priorities are, because I'm in school also.
Right, okay.
So she just told me to remind myself what my priorities are and what I got to pursue. But for the sake of this and for the sake of my dad, my mom's just been overall supportive, and just like her work on the piano, that was all improvised by her.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wrote the chord progression, and she just played whatever she wanted following that chord progression.
Wow.
She's like a giant, massive ball of talent. It's crazy, but yeah.
So she knows how to jam then, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because while my dad conducted choir, my mom accompanied with piano.
Oh, okay.
So she practiced every Saturday night with my dad.
Yeah.
And piano's just like half of her life. So yeah, she's got to know a thing or two.
That's amazing, man. I know that this album was like released like basically a couple weeks, right? Like
it came out Father's Day.
Yeah, on Father's Day. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even realize that. Okay.
That was purely intentional.
I did not realize that.
Yep, no sarcasm. That was very intentional.
Yeah, no, I guess. Yeah, I mean, and we all know why. And it's really cool. But I was wondering, even though you just released your album, have you started anything new at the moment too, or?
I'm thinking about it. But I think I just want to like settle for a bit and just let this album go its path.
Yeah.
And until and I think whenever I consider writing again, it's probably gonna be for a while.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of old songs that I haven't released.
Mm-hmm.
I might think about refurbishing those, just like innovating a bit and just like adding a thing or two.
Yeah.
But I'm not really gonna release those. I'm probably just gonna use those only for live performances when I'm just sort of like sick of doing covers or something.
Yeah.
So I have like things in my sleeve, but not necessarily for future releases.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. I mean, you just released it too, but at the same time, there are like some of the people that I've interviewed in the past, like they'll just be like constantly just like recording.
Yeah, I don't get how those people do it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and if you really think about it, this album's sort of just 4 songs. Just with interludes,
right? Yeah,
and like
true.
an outro.
Yeah.
So I had to give 150% of my creativity into these 4 songs. So I don't know how all these people do it on such a consistent basis. It's ridiculous.
True.
Yeah.
No, it is ridiculous, man. Yeah, I see. Because I mean, as I'm like listening to you right now, and like as we talked for a little bit before, I mean, I get that you listen to so many different type of music, and and as musicians, like we're also audience too,
Yeah.
So I was wondering, this is a question I love to ask, but what are some of the most memorable performances that you've seen in the past? And for this, you could include both DIY or even like a venue show too.
Oh my lord, something like this, like I really can't do one. Like I have to do a couple, and I have to categorize it in a bit.
Sure, that's fine.
To be honest, I think I would categorize it as like one shows that really like builds me. Or build me into like a better musician, but also to like drive me to just be better.
Is it one of those type of show like after you see it, you're like, all right, I need to go home and practice?
I need to, exactly. I need to bring my A game, and they're very inspiring too. The most inspiring thing, half biased, half not. It's when I saw Young Lovers open for Fall of Troy.
Oh, at the Glass House, huh?
Yeah, because I've known that gang for like 6 years.
Yeah.
And I've seen how like a good bulk of how far they've come.
Yeah.
Like they went from playing like these tiny bars that like barely anyone showed up to.
Yeah.
To the friggin' sold out Glass House show.
Yeah.
And I know how much that show meant to them.
Yeah.
Like they all grew up with Fall of Troy. Like it's it really made me happy to see that they were able to like achieve that. Because they really put a lot into their work. So just to see it pay off, that was very inspiring.
And the Fall of Troy shirt you're wearing.
Oh yeah, this is sort of a tribute to those guys. Yeah, shout out to Young Lovers, man. They're the homies.
Yeah.
And then like some other inspiring shows. There's this Korean post-rock band that came here a couple months ago, Jambanai. They're a post-rock band that uses traditional folk instruments.
Oh, that's tight.
Yeah, and they sound very Godspeed / Swans-ish.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Okay.
Like, just to see them sort of repping their backgrounds, that was beautiful. And then another thing was, what sort of like really helped me appreciate music, classical music, and my mom was when I saw this Chinese pianist, Yundi Li. He was at the Walt Disney Concert Hall. And one of my mom's favorite composers is Chopin. So this guy played all of Chopin's ballads and preludes.
That's right.
And before that, I wasn't able to tell composers apart. But after that, I really recognized the type of technique that Chopin uses.
Yeah.
And so I was a part of history, I was a part of technique, I was a part of music development, and I was a part of what makes my mom love music. So that was inspiring. And then I gotta list a few just for how entertaining the show was.
Yeah, go for it.
I gotta give a shout out to like Sigaros. When I saw them at the Hollywood Forever Cemetery like 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh my god, they played all my favorites. I saw them. Recently, I saw Korn at the Forum.
Yeah.
They played all the hits, like all these deep cuts I never thought they played.
All the bangers.
Absolutely. That was amazing. Like, and Baby Metal opened for them. That was a 1-2 punch. And then probably one of the first shows I saw was M83. And he played like Teen Angst and like a bunch of like the old like shoegaze hits that he's probably never going to play again now. So yeah, that was a lot. That wasn't one, but... Yeah, I had to give shout outs to all of them.
No, that's important. It's what shaped you, and like, you know, and that's how like we all know like how like everything built up to this like ceramics project. So like, you know,
absolutely.
It is important, you know. Cool. I think I pretty much asked like everything that I wanted to ask, but I have this segment, you know, on this podcast called This, That, and what it is like I'm gonna throw you some questions, and then you're just gonna like give me like a 1-word answer. And,
a 1-word answer, okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, we could start off with like something simple. And
okay, let's see this.
And actually, I mean, I wrote these down before I even got here, so some of the answers might be like pretty much like obvious, but like we're just gonna go with it anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Oh, really?
I mean, I love cats. I would love to play with them, but I'm slightly allergic. So if like I hug a cat for an hour, my face just gets completely bloated. I'm tearing. I'm itchy everywhere.
Yeah. No
disrespect to cats, but like, I don't want to die.
My body won't react well to it either.
Yeah.
So it's just get that. All right. The second one. This is kind of obvious, though. We'll see. M83 or Tycho?
Oh God. Oh man. Okay. Obviously, the answer is M83, but Tycho. Oh my lord! Like oh my god, he's like I feel like he took the reins after M83.
Oh, so that's the third reign. Okay.
Yeah. Like Tycho definitely shaped like the timbre, I would say.
Yeah.
Like the specific sounds I use in my synthesizers, like how much tape I put in, how much delay, like the warmth like I put in a lot of my Rhodes.
Yeah.
That's all Tycho. Like he really is like the pure reason behind that.
I see.
So yeah, I got to give him a lot of credit. But M83 was pretty much like that guy for the longest. Yeah.
Yeah, I see now. All right, the next one is what hits you? Well, when you listen to music, what hits you first? Would it be rhythm, melody, or lyrics?
I would say melody.
Yeah.
Like all three are clearly important, but I mean I'm an instrumental guy, so we already know what to cross out.
Yeah.
But rhythm, I think it's a fantastic thing to have. But melody, you can do so much with it without any of the other two. Like think about like Tim Hecker.
Yeah.
That's all just purely sound and not really rhythm. You know, Baths. He has a side project, Geotic. Geotic, he has a bunch of ambient albums where the ambient albums, they 100% inspired my interludes.
Yeah.
So I have to put melody first. I feel like I have to figure out what I want to project.
Yeah.
And then I'll put the backbone rhythms under it. Yeah.
Right on. Okay, next one. My Bloody Valentine or Lush?
Oh, screw this. Oh, man. Okay, so Lush, I listened to Lush since I was 13, and I didn't know the word shoegaze at that time.
Oh, you knew Lush like that long ago?
I knew Lush for a long time. Shout out to Rock Band, too. But yeah, Lush, they've been there for me like all of high school.
Yeah.
And I didn't know what the word shoegaze was. And actually, I've never heard of MBV until they headlined FYF.
Oh, okay.
So I'm a very late bloomer with like pretty much like the shoegaze world.
Yeah.
Slow Dive I've never heard of until the year after.
Yeah.
But Lush, like I just classified them as alternative rock for the longest time, and I think I have to hand this crown to them. Like I met Mickey last year.
Oh yeah, did you went to the tour, right?
Yeah, I saw them at the Roxy. That was I have one of their records, Spooky.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had her sign it, Emma, the dude who looks like David Byrne.
Yeah.
I had them three sign it, and it was, like, they're one of the pioneers. So I have to give the crown to them.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. And now for this next one, Boards of Canada or Aphex Twin?
Oh, screw you. Oh, man. See, this is where we really differentiate, or we really separate rhythm and melody.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I think I listen to Aphex Twin way more than Boards of Canada, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
The ambient works, they're just phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Like Xtol, that, like, of one of the cover sets I want to do in the future, like an Aphex Twin cover set is like one of the things I've always wanted to do.
Yeah.
So there's just so many songs in there that I have to like really consider when I'm making music.
Yeah.
I'm like, what would Aphex Twin do in a situation like this? Boards of Canada, like, he is fantastic, obviously. He's one of like the ambient like masters, but I feel like Aphex Twin is just such a beautiful juxtaposition of like a bunch of different categories in music making. So
yeah,
Aphex Twin takes the crown.
Aphex Twin takes the crown. Cool. All right, so the last one is just like a fill in the blank. Ceramiks is.
Oh my god. No. Oh my god's not the answer. Ceramiks is. This is very corny, but I'm gonna say Ceramiks is here.
That's good. Yeah.
Because I came a very long way.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of failed EPs, a bunch of hey, give me some feedback on Facebook to just like 5 likes and like 1 comment, which is from the same person every time I post an EP.
Yeah.
And then like I went through a bunch of disaster sets where a bunch of things don't work. I've went through a bunch of phases where I feel like, this is not worth it. I should shelve it and just go back to school. I think making this album really gave me a boost. I think I know what I'm about now. And I think around this time, like, people should sort of expect more from me. So, Ceramiks is here.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh, before I end this interview, I just want to I want to play one of your songs on my show.
Oh, okay.
So, is there a track that you'd like me to play that's off of Emmaus?
Might as well play my lead single, Western.
Western? Okay.
Yeah, I think that's an appropriate song to play. So, yeah.
Sweet. We'll go with it. All right. Cool. Well, first of all, thank you so much for participating in this. Like,
thank you for having me. Honestly, this is an honor.
Yeah. I didn't ask for I hope I didn't make you nervous or anything like that, or
just in a
weird space.
Or no. I was just nervous thinking about how I should present myself and everything. No big deal.
Yeah, dude. Ceramiks is here. San Fernando represent. So
views from the 8, man.
Yeah, dog. All right. Well, thank you so much. was Ceramiks. If you want to hear more of Adrian's music, then check out the Bandcamp link in the description box below. More podcast episodes are coming for this stupid hot summer, so don't forget to subscribe and like my channel. My name is Kazu, and I'll see you again on one and only. That's right, Large K Podcast. Peace!